Today we're going to continue on with this wonderful love song. The King's love is so strong, and her love is responding. The Shulamite's love is responding, and this is a song. This is a song that we all are writing as believers in Christ. Every day we write something more of His love towards us and our love towards Him. In verse 12, we were sitting in His presence at His table, and He was full of the supply, nourishing us, cherishing us, and we responded to Him. I hope our response this week has been pouring out what we have upon Him for His satisfaction, for His delight. In verse 13, the Shulamite continues to speak. These three verses, 12, 13, and 14, are the Shulamite's voice, reacting, responding, calling to her beloved. And she says, "A bundle of myrrh is my well-beloved to me. He shall lie all night between my breasts." In this verse, she describes him as a bundle of myrrh. This word bundle can be considered a perfume box or a bag. In Job, this word is translated bag. And also in the book of Haggai chapter 1 verse 6, it's translated bag. So the beloved to her is a bag. What is a bag? This denotes fullness. In the New Testament, when Christ came, it says, out of His fullness we all have received grace upon grace. The fullness of Christ. In Colossians chapter 2, it says, "The fullness of the Godhead was pleased to dwell in Him, and in Him we are made full." All the divine grace, all the divine attributes, all of the divine wisdom, holiness is stored up in this wonderful person. He becomes plentiful. He is plentiful. He is abundant. And He is this bag. She calls Him a bag, a bundle. All of the graces of Christ are wrapped up in this wonderful person. And she says not that He will give her a bag or He'll give her a bundle, but He is to her this bundle. Sometimes we ask and pray the Lord would give us wisdom or give us peace, but we are not asking for something. We're asking for His person to become this to us. Lord, You are my peace. Lord, You are my wisdom. You are my love. You are my strength. So many items in this bundle, in this fullness of Christ. And day by day, we draw from the riches of Christ. She says a bundle of myrrh. This is the first time we come across this word myrrh in the Song of Songs, and it will be repeated throughout the song. It's mentioned 8 times. It's a spice. Could either be like sprigs or flowers, or it could be liquid or resin. And to get this myrrh, there needs to be an incision to a tree. And for the fragrance to come forth, the flowers or the sprigs need to be crushed or bruised. It's also a spice or fragrance that is used at funerals. In Jesus' life, from His birth to His burial, we find the word myrrh. When the kings came from the east and visited Him at His birth, they offered Him 3 gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And then when He was on the cross, He was given a mixture of myrrh. And then when He died, Nicodemus had come to Him with myrrh. Myrrh is a type or a picture of the suffering Savior. It's a picture of the cross. It's a picture of the burial. He's a bundle of myrrh, means that He's full of suffering. He's full of death. And this death, it says in 2 Corinthians, is working in us. Death works in us. A bundle of myrrh means Christ is within us, putting to death all the things that are against his pleasure, that are against his satisfaction. As he is within us, he's jealous. He wants us to be everything to him. So a bundle of myrrh is working in us. In Exodus chapter 4, there's a phrase that is very unusual. Zipporah says to Moses, "You're a bloody husband." Moses had talked about circumcision, circumcising the children. So death was a part of Moses' life. He knew that the old flesh needed to be crucified. And Zipporah called him a bloody husband. Our husband is a bloody husband because he wants to put to death everything that is against him, that replaces his love. You know, in the book of Song of Songs also, myrrh will increase. Here we have our beloved as a bundle of myrrh. In chapter 3, the Shulamite is perfumed with myrrh. In chapter 4, there's a mountain of myrrh. Then there's liquid myrrh dripping from her fingers. So you can see how the wonderful death of Christ has been so incorporated into her life that she is a person living in the new creation, but under the death of Christ, crucifying everything that's old, everything that's of the self, everything that's of the world, everything negative, everything that is not Christ is being put to death. In Philippians chapter 3, Paul says to know him. And this had been after he'd been a believer for a long time. He says, I want to know him, the power of his resurrections. And then he says, the fellowship of his sufferings. He wanted to know his death, participate in the sufferings that build up his purpose, that carry out the building up of the body so the wonderful bridegroom can have his bride. So in the same way we take up the cross. The cross is this bundle. It's a bundle of myrrh, which is very much a part of our life. Death works in us. We put to death the practices of the body, and it says in Romans. Put to death our members, it says in Colossians. There's a death working in us. And Shulamite says, my beloved is a bundle, she says, is a bundle of myrrh. It's not will be or has been. This is something present with her. This is something fresh with her. This is something continuing with her. This is something current with her. He is this, and he will continue this way. And she calls him my well-beloved. In verse 12, he's the king, full of majesty, yet inwardly ruling and reigning. But here you can see there's a progress. Now she begins to call him in such an intimate way. Oh, you're my well-beloved. And this will be a first of many times that she refers to him in this way. As we grow, we begin to call him more of an intimate way, in a more intimate way. In verse 7, she says, you're the one whom my soul loves. But here she says, you're my beloved. Why is he her beloved? Because there's the greatness of his love, the greatness of his affection towards her. And also, he is her beloved because of her love towards him. My beloved denotes him coming to her. And my beloved also denotes her going to him in such an intimate way that the two can become one. In 1 Peter, Peter uses the phrase, 1 Peter 2:7, he is precious. It's wonderful. Peter realized who Jesus was, and he says, he is precious. And then in Psalm 73, the writer he says, there's none upon the earth that I desire beside thee. These are words that people, lovers, just like you and me, know better than us. But yet, once they touched this wonderful, lovely one, they began to express it. He is precious. There's none upon the earth that I desire beside thee. And she says, a bundle of myrrh is my well-beloved to me. I appreciate this little phrase, to me. It means she has a possession. It means that he is hers, that you're mine. This is her experience. This is her revelation. Paul in Galatians 2:20, he says, he died for me. Everything about Christ, this lovely one, everything about his work, everything about him needs to be personal. We need to say me. Although God's purpose is corporate, to gain a bride, each experience must be possessed by each one of us. And then she says, he will lie, or he shall lie all night between my breasts. He shall lie. This means that he's going to take rest. He'll abide. He's going to pass the night. He's going to lodge. She doesn't want him to part from her. All night. What is the night? Well, some refer that the whole church age is a night. In Romans chapter 13, Paul says, our salvation is near. The night is far spent. Night. We're in the time of night. You look at the news, you look at people around you, you look at the degradation among so many, much around in Christianity. It's a real night around us. But he is lying, he's lodging all night. What is night? Night is our afflictions. Many are suffering financial afflictions. It's a night. It seems like it'll never end. It's so dark. Afflictions in health, another night. So many afflictions. Maybe loneliness. This is an affliction. This is a night. In Psalms it says he gives us songs in the night. But in this verse, he himself is dwelling with us throughout the night. One day the light will come. The word is light. Even in the night we come to his word and there's a light. It says in Peter that the day is dawning in our heart. His second coming will be a big light. Calls him a morning star, and eventually he's called the Son of Righteousness. When he comes, there'll be light. There'll be no more night. In the New Jerusalem, when the bride has made herself fully ready, when she becomes his wife, the New Jerusalem says there will be no night. But at the present time, as we day by day, hour by hour, endure the night, we endure it not alone. He is with us all the night. He's lodging there. He's abiding. And how is he abiding? Is he far away? No, he's between my breasts, she says. The word breast also is something that will be developed throughout the Song of Songs. What are the breasts in the Song of Songs? The Song of Songs repeatedly uses this. It says that her breasts are like fawns in one section. So delicate, so tender, so sensitive. Her breasts are like clusters of the vine producing fruit. Her breasts are like towers. But here in this verse, he is lying, lodging, abiding between her breasts through the night. In John 13, John laid on the breast of Jesus, or the bosom of Jesus. In John chapter 1, it says that the Son is continually in the bosom of the Father. There's a nearness, a sweetness in the breast, and Jesus is there. What is the breast? The breast can refer to the heart. Our heart. Jesus is making his home in our heart in Ephesians 3. He's come to live in us. He's caused us to be born again. But yet our heart still needs so much to be delivered so that he can fully have our heart. He's making home in our heart. In John chapter 14 it says, if anyone loves me, my Father and I will come to him and make our abode with him. Our loving him is the chief way, the only way to give him the first place. Also, what are the breasts? In 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, it says there's a breastplate of faith and love. The two breasts denote the one of faith and another of love. To the Thessalonians in the second epistle, he says your faith is increasing, your love is increasing. There's been a development of faith and love, and we'll see this throughout the book, and this is part of our loving Christian life. As the two become one, our faith in him increases, our love for him increase. There's a growth of faith, there's a growth of love as our hearts apprehend him. So he's a bundle of myrrh to me, and he lies all night between my breasts. So in summary, I'd just like to say this, that there's a bag or bundle, which is Christ, the suffering Christ, the afflicted Christ, the crucified Christ. And this Christ, this bag is between our breasts. This bag of his sufferings is between our faith and our love within our heart. And as this bag is touched, it diffuses, it infuses us with the wonderful flavor of the death of Christ. There is no death that has such a flavor. This is a sweet flavor. His death was a sweet flavor to God and to us. So it's being diffused through our heart. Our heart is tasting the wonderful death of Christ all through the night. It's so wonderful that as we fall in love with him, we get to see what he went through, and it becomes part of us. It becomes part of our song. As we write this song, as the two become one, it's so wonderful. And also I'd like to say in this verse, you get to see our wonderful bridegroom, lover, king, Christ in three ways. First, he's a bundle. He's a fullness. He's abundant. It says in John 10, I have come that they might have life and have it abundantly. Everything about him is abundant. He's so abundant. Also, in this verse, there's a revelation through myrrh. Through myrrh, we get to see the suffering, the afflicted Christ, the man of sorrows, who's infusing himself into us. And then also, as he lies between our breasts, we get to see the indwelling Christ. He's dwelling within us. He's within us. Most people don't see. Most people don't know, unless we were to tell them. And even then, they might not understand what we're saying. But this fullness, this crucified one, this one so full of the fragrant death and suffering, is indwelling us, making his home in our heart. Let's enjoy him this week. Tell him we love him. And let this myrrh just drive out and kill anything in us that competes with his love. And let's continue to write this song into our lives day by day.